Hello and welcome to the TRBusiness video channel. I'm here today with Nicola Tompkins. She's the head of buying and merchandising on P&O Ferries. Nicola, thanks very much for joining TRBusiness today.
You're welcome.
Nicola, I just wanted to begin by asking you about P&O Ferries commercial business. Bring us up to date on some of the developments this year and how you're growing.
Yeah. So it's been we've experienced a really good year actually in the end. Although the start of the year was quite difficult from a retail point of view, but we've had the most amazing summer where we had record-breaking passenger numbers in the month of August. We've seen really good growth coming through from categories, particularly beers, wines and spirits, toys, which has been a really massive growth area for us, and kids lifestyle.
Okay. In terms of your retailing philosophy, how would you describe P&O Ferries' approach, and crucially, what distinguishes you from competitors in the market?
Well, I'd say our approach is that we have to appeal to a lot of different people because our passenger base is really broad. So it's everything from day trippers who are going across for a booze cruise, older couples who might have a second home in France, to families and coach parties of school children on exchanges. So we have a really broad passenger base. So we have to have something there to appeal to everybody. And our philosophy is really simple, that we try and set ourselves apart by doing things a little bit differently and having fun in the retail spaces. So we've spent a lot of time over the last 5 or 6 years refurbishing our retail stores and introducing pop-up shop areas and promotional sites so that we can do some of the more interesting interactive stuff to entertain our passengers and encourage them to shop.
And obviously the global cruise and ferry market is growing exponentially. What are your customers or passengers looking for in terms of the retailing experience and in terms of the product that you're able to supply? It must be changing quite dramatically.
Yeah, I think the thing that has been consistent though is price. Particularly on categories like beers, wines and spirits, our customers are looking for good prices. That has become more challenging because of course it's more the price comparison information is more readily available to people. They've all got mobile phones so they can price check. So that's something that we've had to work quite hard on to retain our competitive edge versus the high street. And I think a lot of people are often surprised that we're often up to 50% cheaper than the high street on our beers, wines and spirits. And I think as far as other customers are concerned, sometimes they're looking for something a little bit different and a little bit surprising. So for instance, on the beauty category, we've introduced a cult classics area this year, which is brand new for us. So we've introduced brands like Egyptian Magic and Colour Wow, which are performing really, really well for us, which demonstrates, I think, that our customers aren't just looking for the kind of more mainstream brands, they're looking for something that's a little bit different too.
Okay, well, one of the beauties of the ferry and cruise business is the fact that you can target and capture new passengers or existing ones at multiple touch points and at multiple times during the ferry journey.
Yeah.
What would you say is the key challenge in actually ensuring that your passengers are engaging at each touch point?
Yeah. So, I mean, that varies from route to route because, so if you look at Dover to Calais, which is of course where the bulk of our business comes from, it's a 90-minute crossing, so we don't have very long to engage them. So it has to be quite sharp and snappy. Our overnight crossings between the UK and Holland and Belgium are very, very different. So we have customers on board for 10 to 12 hours. And there we have lots more opportunity to touch those customers. And so, for instance, an example of that would be for beers, wines and spirits category, we have the bars, which is a great promotional space for us. So we can cross-sell in the bars and the shops. Sure. We have much more opportunity to many more touch points for those customers.
Okay. Could I ask you about the Brexit situation? Obviously there's continued uncertainty in the UK and obviously in Europe. We're seemingly in impasse at the moment. Should a hard Brexit occur, obviously that's going to represent potentially good news for the duty-free environment and particularly ferries.
Yeah.
Just give us your viewpoint from a P&O Ferries perspective on what sort of opportunity that offers, particularly for the short trips.
Well, I think that largely depends on what the Brexit deal looks like, because if duty-free is to return to us, that could be advantageous. But I think what we also have to bear in mind at the moment that we have passengers who are taking advantage on the Dover to Calais route of the fact that there are no restrictions, there are no limitation in terms of what they can purchase. So that's the downside. So for those passengers, it's going to be much less attractive having duty free. And I suppose a lot of it depends what those limits are going to be, and nobody really knows. So we're having quite a difficult time, the buyers and I, at the moment, kind of planning for the unknown and working out what the different scenarios might be. So yeah, it's difficult.
Yeah, sure, okay. And moving forward into next year, what are P&O Ferries really focusing on in terms of innovation and bringing, I guess, new products to market, and where will your main focuses lie?
Well, I think the main focus is going to be, as I mentioned before, we've done a lot of refurbishments over the last few years, some major refurbishments, particularly on the whole Seabrooker route on those ferries. So it's really kind of trading those shops and kind of the learnings that we've taken from the new style shops that we've put into place and kind of developing that. So we're kind of sort of refocusing on the shops that we've got and just trying to build from there. Now we've got our lovely new shops, and then also just kind of looking continually at the points of differentiation. Again, I mentioned the cult classics area and beauty, so it's the areas like that where we can introduce kind of new categories within categories to make our offer a little bit different. And that's one of the things that we do at the TFWA show. It's looking for those new brands, and we've got quite a few meetings over the next few days with potential new partners.
Okay, and one of the key exponents, I guess, of a lot of the companies in the cruise and ferry channel is the ability to bring experience and retailtainment, as it were, to the passengers on board journey. How are you really selling your approach? And I guess it goes back to my question about your philosophy, to really set yourself out in the market.
So selling our approach, do you mean to our suppliers?
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Well, I think it's in the beginning that was probably a bit more difficult when we first started introducing these types of concepts, because it wasn't something that they'd done on ferries before, and so it was kind of uncharted territory. And as I say, it's kind of different on the Dover to Calais route, which you have a much shorter period of time. So whereas they might have been used to doing some of these initiatives in airports, it's quite different. So yeah, but now I think it's a much easier sell, if you like, because the brands that we work with have seen the results that they can get from these spaces and those sorts of activities. So we have quite a nice full calendar of activities and events during the course of the year.
Okay, we look forward to reporting and tracking how those developments work out in the coming months. Nicola Tompkins, thank you very much for talking to us today. Thank you.